A survival game where players can either join forces or battle against each other to survive in a zombie wasteland, the gameplay of Days is nerve-wracking and rewards player investment as they slowly understand how the game works. Given how massive the playing space is in every session, it's easy to see why Days can be a bit overwhelming for beginners. It takes a while for players to come to grips with the massive sandbox and what the most efficient way is to tackle both zombie hordes and hostile human players. Days may seem like a simple game at first, but it won't take too long for this title to wrap its tendrils around a player as they clock in numerous play sessions in no time. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is widely regarded as one of the best open-world RPGs ever. The game was clearly built with dedication and love, exemplified by the meticulously detailed world that is a delight to explore. The game's stunning world is not its only standout feature, as the many characters within the world are brought to life through gripping quests that will force players to make numerous tough decisions. The variety of locations that the player visits in The Witcher 3, while the story begins in Velen and Kaer Morhen, the players then discover Skellige Isles, which delivers a refreshing experience. The exploration in The Witcher 3 is always rewarding, and that's why players love to visit every inch of the map in this game. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the biggest and best open-world games on Xbox One. One of the main reasons for its acclaim is the sheer amount of detail that is present, as well as the artistically beautiful lighting and environments. The game's world is inspired by Southern California, which in itself is a lovely place. GTA 5's enormous open world is like a giant playground for the players to mess around in, largely thanks to the huge range of vehicles and weapons on offer that let gamers create mayhem. Forza Horizon 5 enjoyed being one of Xbox's biggest and best first-party launches since the 9th generation consoles were released, with Halo Infinite being one of its only other competitors. The game lets players travel around a huge map that provides a stunning fictional rendition of Mexico. The map offers a wide range of biomes for players to explore and travel across, each with its own unique visuals and surfaces to consider when picking a vehicle. There is also an incredible range of cars to drive, ensuring that the gameplay never gets stale. 2020 was an important year for Ubisoft. The company had several major IA releases, such as Immortals Phoenix Rising, Watch Dogs Legion, and of course Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Valhalla received even more attention than expected when Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed again around the time Valhalla was set to release, making it one of the few major releases on 9th generation consoles at the time, putting a huge weight of expectations on the game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is set in medieval Norway and a large part of Britain and features gorgeous maps with a colourful and bold fantasy art style that makes the game stand out from its predecessors. While there's no denying the world's beauty, fans of exploring are sure to enjoy the size of the map too. Ubisoft has a great track of building massive maps. The French publisher delivers big open-world games year after year, and they do come with giant worlds. Far Cry 6 might not feature the biggest Ubisoft-created map, but it is still big enough when compared to the standards of the franchise. Yara is a massive tropical island with lots of beautiful landscapes that leave players in awe. There are numerous non-quest activities to get involved in on the map, and it is fully explorable on foot or using vehicles. The map is more vibrant than Far Cry 5's Hope County, which makes exploration a pure joy. After Ubisoft felt like the Assassin's Creed series fell into a rut, they decided to change things up by taking a page out of The Witcher 3. This led to the development and release of Assassin's Creed Origins, which focused on the roots of the series and leaned heavily into the RPG side of things. Bayek is a pretty fun protagonist to control, with the shifting sands of Egypt making for a captivating setting. While this formula was something that fans grew to hate, there's no denying that Assassin's Creed Origins felt fresh and engaging when it came out, in no small part because of the vastness of the open world. From Software's stellar track record in their so-called Soulsborne series, partnered with the fact that Elden Ring was the series' first open-world release, made the action RPG one of the most highly anticipated releases of the decade thus far. Any fears of a Cyberpunk 2077-like launch were alleviated when the game received an eye-watering Metascore of 96, and players finally got to explore an open world from the minds of Hidetaka Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. Elden Ring's map is enormous but filled to the brim with memorable discoveries, unique enemies, and punishing boss fights. Not an inch of the game's massive open world is wasted either, with secrets and side quests hidden around every corner of the map. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the greatest open-world games ever made. Rockstar Games truly knocked it out of the park with this title, proving to players once again that they still have all the chops of a major IA studio despite the majority of their efforts going into updating GTA Online. The story of Arthur Morgan is a brilliant one, with the world being unbelievably massive. In fact, the areas present in the first Red Dead Redemption title can't even be explored until the epilogue, which is just a huge flex from Rockstar. The third installment in the Mafia series delivered the largest map ever in the franchise's history. Depicting the fictional city of New Bordeaux in the United States, the map featured a good variety of distinct areas, from downtown neighborhoods, packed with skyscrapers to swampy regions on the south of New Bordeaux. Probably the reason why Mafia 3's map didn't feel big enough was a lack of density. Although the map size is almost as big as half of Los Santos in Grand Theft Auto 5, it still feels way smaller when the player roams around the city. It is also worth noting that some parts of the map cannot be travelled by a vehicle, as the player must proceed on foot. The lack of meaningful non-quest activities that players can do in New Bordeaux is another reason that makes it feel empty. While some people were initially disappointed that the world of Night City and its outskirts was nowhere near as massive as the open world of The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077 more than made up for it by letting players explore one of the most dense and jam-packed open world games of all time. After all the bugs were ironed out and new content was added to the game, players could check out the gloriousness of Night City for themselves without anything standing in the way. Cyberpunk 2077 features a massive urban landscape that players can get lost in for hours on end, with the sheer wealth of things to accomplish in this game is mind-boggling. Players won't even notice the hours fly by as they progress through the main story, complete numerous side missions, help out fixers, obtain new vehicles, and find every secret there is to discover in this open world. Fallout 4 was a mixed bag for many players. Some people loved the Commonwealth and the addition of a voiced protagonist, while others felt that the streamlined RPG mechanics made the game feel a bit more casual than it should have been. Regardless, the improvements made to the Fallout formula by Bethesda shouldn't be ignored. Fallout 4 can allow for a great time once players let the game breathe and explore the wealth of astounding locations present in the title, and doing so can take a great deal of time. Fallout 76 was also developed by Bethesda but stands out for being an online action RPG. This means that the open world can be experienced with friends, family, or strangers, just like real life, well, in a way. It also needs an exact time and money investment, which makes the experience even more realistic. But jokes aside, this is a game that will likely keep receiving new content for many years, making its already big open world even more vibrant with time. Everybody and their grandma knows about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. It was late 2011 and the world had the pleasure of playing one of the biggest Bethesda games on the planet. This is undoubtedly an aged game, but truth be told, it still holds up. Skyrim is a detailed game full of random encounters, upgrade options, and missions, making it a real RPG experience for a lot of people. What makes all of this better is the fact that it has one of the biggest open worlds on the Xbox One. Released in November 2020, Immortals Phoenix Rising is an open world action-adventure game set in ancient Greece, where the world has been turned to stone. Mechanically and visually, Immortals shares a lot in common with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Coming from the developers of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it shares quite a bit of its DNA with that series too. Its open world environment is huge and a lot of fun to explore, with tons of side quests and content to discover. Thanks to its Myths of the Eastern Realm DLC, Immortals has gotten even bigger, with the game taking its players to a new map that features mythological China. Whereas Elden Ring and Forza Horizon 5 are still fairly recent, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain hit stores back in September 2015. Despite releasing so early in the Xbox One's life cycle, the game offers a visually stunning open world that is a joy to simply ride across on a horse, provided no enemies get in the way. Many people were skeptical as to how well the iconic stealth series would adapt to modern open world game design, though the development team did a fantastic job of blending the two inherently opposing genres, which was a significant reason why the game earned a whopping 93 Metascore on Xbox One. Despite being critically panned for not living up to expectations at launch, No Man's Sky's development team didn't give up on the game and worked hard to make it a far better and more polished experience. The developers at Hello Games deserve a great deal of praise for persisting and creating one of the best open world experiences of the generation, even if they did drop the ball at launch. Exploring the galaxy is absolutely limitless thanks to its procedurally generated universe, where seemingly every star is orbited by more planets and life forms waiting to be discovered. Elite Dangerous was developed by Frontier Developments and was first released on PC in December 2014. The game arrived on Xbox One in October 2015, letting a new wave of gamers explore the game's unbelievable open world, which attempts to be a realistic 1-1 recreation of the Milky Way. The game features a single-player mode but is best known for its online multiplayer, where gamers enter a persistent world that is populated by others, fulfilling various roles and completing activities. Minecraft differentiates itself from most of the other picks on this list as it features procedurally generated worlds, offering players an entirely new experience every time they begin a new save file. Despite the infinite variety of world layouts available to players, the maps all share one thing in common: their size. The maps in Minecraft are enormous, giving players a seemingly endless sandbox to have fun and create in, which is one of the key reasons as to why the game has been such a consistent success. The Crew 2 is another excellent Xbox One game developed by Ubisoft. The game was released in 2018 and boasts a wonderfully well-designed and persistent open world set in the United States. The game offers players a huge range of vehicles with numerous cars to drive as well as planes and boats, which help differentiate the game from its competitors in the open world racing genre. The Crew 2 struggled to impress critics upon release, exemplified by its 69 Metascore on Xbox One, although it did win the Best Sports Game accolade at the Ping Awards. Although Breakpoint experienced a rocky launch and never managed to achieve the success of Ghost Recon Wildlands, it delivered the biggest map in the series' history. The island of Aurora is over 965 square miles, which makes a massive playground for players to roam around, complete operations and explore its lush forests. The use of environmental materials for camouflage is one of the unique features of Breakpoint that makes the world-building elements useful for players. Breakpoint is, of course, a much better game now than it was at launch. With the release of AI teammates, the game is now more enjoyable to play solo. It also features a lot of new quality content that actually benefits from the map's gigantic scale. Released in 2016, Final Fantasy XV had its fair share of problems in development and during its launch with bugs and unfinished story content. This was fixed with updates, DLC content, and the more complete Royal Edition, which was released 2 years later. The game is set in a somewhat empty post-apocalyptic world, and there are very few towns to explore like its predecessors. In truth, it's a game that would have benefited from being smaller and more focused. However, there is no denying that the game's map is absolutely huge and features interesting secrets to be found, a great cast of characters, and an awesome soundtrack. The Just Cause series features some of the most cathartic video games players can check out if their main goal is to cause as many explosions as possible. The game doesn't make any excuses when it comes to promoting the ludicrous violence of its gameplay, with players loving the idea of flying around enemy bases and turning them into a pile of ash. With the fun movement and traversal mechanics present in Just Cause 3, it's easy to see why the developer decided to let players mess around in a massive sandbox that is full to the brim with tasks to accomplish. The game's paper-thin story serves only as an excuse for players to blow stuff up in style across the game's massive world. Assassin's Creed Odyssey features one of the biggest open worlds ever seen in a video game. How much of this world is justified is debatable, but there's no denying that the sheer scale of this gorgeous world should be celebrated. Odyssey can be a bit too overwhelming to get into, but players should be fine as long as they prioritize the main story and don't get sidetracked too much. Sometimes huge open worlds can be detrimental to a game's overall quality, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a great example of the same. With the release of Skull Bones, more people have come to realize just how amazing the fourth mainline Assassin's Creed game really is. Black Flag was celebrated by many to be one of the greatest video games ever made, and continues to hold up pretty well to this day. Navigating the Caribbean on a pirate ship and exploring the wealth of secrets that lie within makes for a great time. Sure, the vast majority of this open world consists of a massive water body, but it ends up fitting in the world pretty well and makes exploration a blast to engage with.